Start video. Good afternoon, children. In the previous classes, we discussed about algorithms and flowcharts, and advantages and disadvantages is a topic which is left over in this chapter. I'm going to revise whatever the topics we had discussed in the previous 2 days, and then at the end I'll cover the advantages and disadvantages of the flowchart. Okay, so let us enter. The main objectives which are covered in this chapter are: what is an algorithm, characteristics of an algorithm, what is a flowchart, features of a flowchart, advantages of a flowchart, and disadvantages of a flowchart. These are the main objectives we cover in this chapter. Algorithms. What is an algorithm? An algorithm is the step-by-step procedure to solve any logical and mathematical problem. Okay, an algorithm is the step-by-step procedure to solve any logical and mathematical problem. And the word algorithm has been named after the 9th century Iranian Islamic mathematician, astronomer and astrologer Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi. Okay, so he had written the book in Arabic, which was translated into English. Its Latin name is Algorithmi, and when we translate it into English, it used to be called as algorithm. Okay, that is how the word algorithm has come. Rules for writing an algorithm one must be familiar with before start writing any algorithm. An algorithm should be written in English-like language. Students, I just would like to remind you once again, after each and every slide, I'll pause for some time. Please capture the screenshot. You can follow any method to capture the screenshot. Yesterday I have told, and in the previous classes, I have told even by using the snipping tool. Snipping tool you will find in the search. Just beside the start menu, you will find that search icon. You click there, then you will find the snipping tool. Then from there you can capture the screen and then you can save it. And later on you can watch. Or else I'll upload this PPT in the form of video in my channel. At the end, I'll tell my channel name once again today. And of course, the notes also I'm going to upload today. Okay. So the rules for writing an algorithm. An algorithm should be written in English-like language. It should be written by using simple and plain language. It should be written in precise manner so that everyone can understand it. Which means the person who doesn't have the programming skills also, once if they go through the algorithm, they'll understand what that algorithm meant for or what is the task of that algorithm. Okay. Each step should be written in a sequential manner. What do you mean by sequential manner? One after another in proper way, so that after execution or after going through all these steps, at the end you must get the desired result. So that is what the sequential manner. I've already told some of the students are asking about the syllabus and notes. Notes I'll upload in the channel. While it will be in the form of video. While watching, you just pause the video, copy the answer, copy the question answer, and then you can play again. When it comes to the next question answer, you can pause it and write. In that way, you can complete. And it's not about the term, whatever the topic The teacher explains whatever might be the subject, please go through that. Okay, as you are having only 3 days classes per week, so it will be easy for you to go through all the content of all the subjects. Okay, now I think no problem with audio and video. At the end, I'll look into your question and answers, and if you have any doubts, I'll clarify them. Okay, let me proceed with the topic now. Then the next tool is, wherever it is necessary, you can include or you can make use of the variables as well as certain times to get the solution, you may need to implement mathematical expressions or operators so that you will get the result. So here another rule one must follow is that one can include variables and define mathematical expressions to calculate the result. Then statements that are of similar type should be combined to avoid a lengthy course. Whenever and wherever you need to perform the same step for several number of times, instead of writing the step again and again, you just can combine these steps and you just can place the step or the steps which you need to perform repeatedly in one loop, and you can iterate the loop for the required number of times. What are loops and what is the use of loop, that you will understand when we start entering the Java programming, right? The next, each instruction should be executed within a reasonable time frame. So while execution of the instruction or the step in your algorithm, that should get executed within the time frame. Then, to ensure that an algorithm produces the expected output, it should be set by using sample values. I've already shown how to test algorithm by using the sample values. Not only algorithm, even the flowchart also can be tested by using the sample values. Usually, the sample data, the programmer will take the same sample data along with the result. Okay, the result and the data both, which means input and output both will be ready. Okay, whatever the possible manner or whatever the different types of data need to be executed, according to that, the sample data will be prepared along with its required output. Okay, then that sample input gets implemented or applied to the algorithm or flowchart. At the end, if that algorithm or flowchart is able to give the desired result, then your algorithm and flowchart is okay, then you can proceed with the programming part, right? So these are the rules to be followed while writing an algorithm. Hope you understand the rules to be followed, right? Let's move to the next topic. Here, one sample algorithm where you will come to know, just you will remember however you used to pack your school bag before you come to school. First step, start, which indicates your algorithm is started. Then second step, go to your bookshelf. Then step 3, open your school bag. Step 4, take out your school diary. Why do you take out your school diary? There is a timetable page, right? To check the timetable of the respective date, you will open your diary and look into the timetable. Then you will see the timetable, which is step 5. Then take out the books as per the timetable is step 6. Then keep them in your bag. Then close the bag. So with this, packing your bag gets over. Okay, here, if you have a look at these steps, we are following the instructions or the steps in sequential manner. We cannot write that keep the books in your bag, open your school bag. It won't be like that. It should be in orderly manner. That is what the sequence is meant for. Okay. So here is the algorithm to pack your school bag. And this PPT also I will convert it into video form and upload in YouTube channel. Or just you can visit my channel and That video you can watch as a kind of revision. Okay. Now let's have a look at the characteristics of an algorithm. Input. Usually an algorithm accepts an input. It may have single input or may have many inputs. Okay. So this input gets processed through different steps, and then finally we get output. Let us see. Then the next characteristic is generality. Usually an algorithm works on a set of inputs, whatever the set of inputs or the single input, whatever has been applied to the algorithm, that gets processed so that your task gets over or the problem gets solved. The next, definiteness. This tells that the instruction, whatever you write in your algorithm, must be simple and precise, so that everyone, whoever look into your algorithm, whoever look at your algorithm will understand what is being done and what can be achieved at the end of the algorithm. Okay, that is what the definiteness. The next, uniqueness. Each step in an algorithm should be uniquely identified, and an output of each step should depend on the previous step. There will be connectivity between the steps. Whatever you write in sequential manner in the form of algorithm, there must be connectivity. The step depends on or the data or the result or the process which is being occurred in the current step always gets connected to the previous step. That is what uniqueness. The next, finiteness. Usually, algorithm must consist of finite number of steps. And when you look at the algorithm, you will come to know that, okay, this algorithm consists of these many steps. So there must be finite number of steps to get the solution, then only it will be. You can't tell that, okay, keep going on. You can't end algorithm in that way. There must be finite number of steps in your algorithm. Then finally output. Of course, that is what the result we expect at the end of the algorithm. That is what the solution of the problem or the result of the task which is given. So your output after the instructions are executed, you must get the desired result. I've already told you the difference between the result and desired result. Certain times we may make mistakes in our logic or while using the mathematical expression. In that case, you may get the result, but that may not be correct result which we expect it from. Okay, that's the reason. Whenever you achieve the output of the result, that must be the desired result. Okay, so these are the characteristics of an algorithm. Okay. So that is what about the algorithm, and the next topic is flowchart. A flowchart is a pictorial representation of steps or an algorithm. Usually, whatever the steps you wanted to implement to get the solution of the given problem, that can be represented by using the pictures. Okay, or even you can start writing algorithm and then you can draw the flowchart. Well, already we had discussed about the symbols which one must be familiar before start drawing the flowchart. Anyhow, the next slide you will come to know the symbols. Once again, I'll explain about all the symbols. You will come to know, right? So here a flowchart is a pictorial representation or diagrammatic representation of the steps or an algorithm to solve a particular problem or to solve a given problem. Then the next, the process of drawing a flowchart for an algorithm is known as flowcharting. I'll repeat once again. The process of drawing a flowchart for an algorithm is known as flowcharting. Suppose after taking the algorithm, once if you start writing drawing flow chart, then we call that process as flow charting. Then it graphically represents the logic needed to solve a programming problem. Usually the flow chart is representing the same logic whatever you write in the descriptive text form. Instead of descriptive text, you are representing by using graphics, right? So usually you are very much interested towards pictures, right? So in the same manner, the flow chart is more effective than algorithm, okay? Because it implements graphics, which are nothing but the symbols what we had discussed yesterday. Now let us see different symbols and their functions while drawing the flow chart. Not only these, many other symbols are there which can be used while drawing the flow chart. But according to your standard, these symbols are enough. That's it. Or else many more symbols are there to represent file and other way. Okay, to access data from any drive. For all those, we have many more symbols. But according to your standard, these symbols are enough to draw the flow chart. Okay, this first one, the rounded circle, elliptical circle, or even you can draw the rounded rectangle, which can be named as input and output box or start-stop box. Start-stop box, which you will find at the beginning as well as end of the flow chart. Okay, then this parallelogram. Okay, so this graphic, this symbol represents input or output. Okay, so whenever you need to give input to get process, to get the solution, then we give the input by using this parallelogram symbol, and at the same time, after processing, to display the result, which is nothing but the output, we use the same symbol. So this symbol can be used for both input as well as output. Okay, then next rectangle, this we call processing box. Various processing like addition, subtraction, and some other whatever implements a kind of processing, all those steps we write within the rectangle. And the next rhombus symbol, this we call as decision box or condition box. Here we just test the condition, and according to the result of that test condition, we take the decision. That's the reason we call the symbol as decision or condition box. You can call it as either decision box or condition box. Okay, then next flow lines. These flow lines will tell in which direction control is being flow in your flow chart. Like this arrow, right arrow indicates the flow of the control is towards right. This left arrow represents the flow of control is towards left. This up arrow represents the flow of control is in upward direction. This down arrow represents the flow of control is towards downward direction. So these all flow lines. Okay, and one more important thing I've told you yesterday, that these flow lines should not cross. Okay, the next connectors. Here you can see two connectors. This circle is on-page connector. When your flow chart consists of different parts on the same page, then you will use, or we can use, this on-page connector. And in case if your flow chart is going to occupy more than one page, then your flow chart is going to be written in different pages. Okay, so to tell the connectivity, we use this off-page connector, and of course these connectors will be labeled by using alphabets or numbers. So wherever you end, and that continuation will be label will be same. Okay, in that way I have already explained yesterday. Okay, these are the different symbols and their functions. You all must be familiar with, so that drawing flow chart becomes very simple and easier task. Okay. Now let's have a look at the features of a flow chart. Your flow chart must contain these features. A flowchart should have only one start and stop symbol. Whenever you draw the flowchart, it must have only one start and stop symbol. Okay, though your flowchart may consist of it may consist of different parts. Using connectors you may connect, but there must be only one beginning, one ending. Ending of course can be given after getting the result. Okay. Then the general direction of flow in any flow chart should be either top to bottom or left to right. Okay. The next, the flow lines should not cross each other. Flow lines should never cross each other. In case if you draw the flow chart in that way, that will be considered as wrong one. The next, if a flow chart occupies more than one page, then off-page connectors should be used to direct the flow of information. So these are the features of a flow chart. Here one exemplar flow chart to calculate the sum of two numbers. Here first we start. Okay, we start the flow chart. The start symbol indicates it's the beginning. Then here what is the task? We need to calculate the sum of two numbers. So here two numbers must be input. So this is input output box now. So this box right now we are using to receive the input. Read A, which indicates we are taking the first number. We are reading the first number. Then after reading the first number, then we are reading the second number, that is read B. Here I've already told you that it's not compulsory to make use of A and B only. You can make use of X, Y and even any other variables. Okay, and of course even here you can use single input box where you can write read A comma B also. That also correct. But as it is the beginning, no. Here you have the clear explanation. Then once we have the numbers, what are we supposed to do? We need to calculate the sum of the two numbers. So the processing is adding the given two numbers. So that is what sum is equal to A plus B. Here what is being done? Processing. That's the reason we are using the processing box here. Once we add the numbers and get the result in the variable sum, so here a task got over. The next we must display the result. That is, we are printing the value of the sum. That is print sum, which is nothing but the output. Again we use this parallelogram. Okay, and then end indicates it's the end of the flowchart. So this is a simple example where you can understand how to draw the flowchart. Okay. Hope you are able to understand and you may like to draw the flowchart. You can take different examples of your daily activities and you can start writing all them, and even in the form of flowchart, which can be considered as a playway method. It's not only like whatever is given in your textbook. In case when you feel like don't open the book, then you just think of one of the tasks and write an algorithm. Then you convert it into flowchart by drawing, by using the symbols, whatever we had discussed. Okay. Here another example, here where we are going to test whether the number is even or odd. What are the even numbers? Even numbers and odd numbers you all are familiar with now. A number which is divisible by 2 is known as even number. If it is not divisible by 2, it's odd number. So when you divide any number by 2, if its remainder is 0, then even number. If its remainder is 1, then that is odd number. So same logic we use while drawing the flowchart for this. Here I have given the flowchart now. After the class, you just try to write an algorithm for that. Okay. Now just have a look at here. We start the flowchart by using start box, and then we must take the input. The number which should be tested, whether it is even or odd, must be given as input here. So here input box, and that number must be tested whether it is divisible by 2. Here, please listen to me carefully. If number is divisible by 2, here, can you note this symbol? In math, you will call it as percentage, I think. This we call as mod operator. Listen to me, ma, carefully. This mod operator will give the remainder when you divide the number. Here, suppose let me take the number as 10. Okay. Input number is 10. I am taking. Then 10 mod 2, which means 10 divided by 2. 2 5s are 10. What is the remainder? 0. Okay. So here it gives the remainder 0 equal to 0. Yes. Then we get the result. Given number is even number, and then it gets 10. Suppose we take another number 15. Okay. Input number is 15. 15 mod 2. 2 7s are 14. 15 minus 14, 1. 1 is not equal to 0 here. Here one more thing, you may think that mistakenly 2 equal to signs are entered. No. Usually equal to sign is assignment operator, where we assign the value to the variable. In programming terminology, I am speaking about, not according to your math. Okay. So here, whatever the remainder comes through this expression is being tested for the equality. Is this equal to 0? Is this equal to 0 is being tested? That is what double equal to sign, which we call as a comparison relational operator, which we use for checking equality, like greater than or equal to, less than or equal to symbols are there, no? In the same manner, double equal to compares whether both the sides are equal or not. Okay. Now, 15 mod 2 equal to 1, no? 15 by 2. 2 7s are 14. 15 minus 14, 1. 1 is not equal to 0. So, result is no. Then, output is odd number. Then, the task gets over. So, whatever the number you pass to this flow chart, you will come to know whether it is even number or odd number. Okay. Hope you all are able to understand. You might be very much new only to this topic. That is mod operator. When you write number by 2, you will get, what do you get? 10 by 2, you will get 5. But here, mod operator will give you the remainder after dividing the number, the respective number, whatever remains over there, that gives by this mod operator. Okay. Anyhow, once you start writing programs in Java, you will come to know, as said, you will be given detailed explanation over operators. That time you will understand in better way. Okay. I think most of you might have understand the difference between divided by, that's by to get the, to divide the number and get the result, as well as mod operator. The next, advantages of a flow chart. So here, through these advantages, you will come to know what are the advantages of the flow chart. In case if we approach this method before we start writing, what kind of advantages can be available, can be availed, that you will understand. First and foremost, communication. The pictorial representation of the flowchart obviously provides better communication. I'll just give you one simple example. Suppose you have something which indicates in picture form or pictorial form or in diagrammatic notation, and the same thing is being represented in descriptive text. Obviously, pictures get, you will be more attracted towards pictures. So here, this flowchart provides better communication to understand how the problem is being solved. Okay, and of course, easily you can analyze what is being done through this flowchart and how the control is being moved in which direction and what type of conditions is being tested. Then algorithm, it just provides better communication. Okay, then the next advantage is effective analysis. It is a very useful technique, as flowchart is a pictorial representation that helps the programmer to analyze the problem in detail. Here, usually you take the problem and then you start writing either algorithm and flowchart. No, in case if you approach the flowchart methodology, the programmer can analyze the problem in detail. Okay, that is what effective analysis. Then proper documentation. Usually flowchart serves as a good program documentation. Usually this is very important for different purposes while solving the problem. So flowchart provides better documentation or proper documentation, we can say. Okay. The next, efficient coding. Usually these flowcharts act as a roadmap for the programmers. You all might be familiar with Google Maps, right? When you are going to start from one place to another place, in case if the destination route to reach the destination, if you are not, you in the sense your parent or the driver is not familiar with, they can rely on Google Maps, which serves better navigation to reach your destination in simple and safe manner. So here in the same manner, flowcharts also act as a roadmap for the programmers, as these flowcharts give clear idea to the programmer how to write a program. Okay, that is the reason efficient coding is another example of the flowchart. The next, proper debugging. Here, before explaining what is proper debugging, you must know the bug. Here with computing terminology, bug is nothing but error, defect. So debugging is a inverse process, that is identifying the bug wherever it is there in your solution, then locating that particular error and removing. That is what proper debugging. So using a flowchart, we can systematically detect, locate, as well as we can remove the mistakes from a program. I've already told you to test both algorithms as well as flowcharts with a sample or test data. No? So while testing the flowchart with that sample data, you will come to know where that particular error is available, where that particular bug or error is located, and then easily you can correct it by rectifying it. That is what proper debugging. Bug is nothing but error. Okay. Debugging is rectifying the error. Then finally, efficient program maintenance. The maintenance of operating a program becomes easy with the help of a flowchart. Okay. Usually these flowcharts enables the programmer to put more effort, like while testing the data. If they find any other better way, they come. I mean, all those ways will come to know. I mean, will be identified in easy and simple manner. So efficient programming can be done with the help of the flowchart. So these are the advantages of a flowchart. Okay, these all are advantages of the flowchart. However, as the coin has other side, here along with the advantages, we have few disadvantages. Of course, let us see even the disadvantages. So first, the disadvantage is complex logic. If the problem is simple and moderate, it's very simple and easy to draw the flowchart. But when you are dealing with complex programs, when you are going to, or when you are about to solve the complex problem, then obviously it becomes clumsy. The flowchart becomes very lengthy. Okay, so complex logic is one of the disadvantage of a flowchart, which means a program logic is quite complicated, then flowchart becomes very clumsy and it becomes complicated, even of course lengthy. And another disadvantage is alterations and modifications. Alteration means changes. Modification also comes under changes. So here, whenever you need to go for alterations and modifications, as we will not type this flowchart directly. However, we type the text, we need to redraw it. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Whenever we need to proceed with any kind of modification and alteration, then flowchart must require to be redrawn again. Again, you have to redraw with the changes. That is what alterations and modifications. And finally, reproduction. As the flowchart symbols cannot be typed, reproduction of flowchart becomes a problem. Okay, so these are the disadvantages. Anyhow, though we have a few disadvantages, we have enormous advantages of using the flowchart. Writing the algorithm and drawing the flowchart is the best way before writing code by using any programming language, where you will come to know what steps to be followed while writing, as well as you can test whether your logic is correct or not. Okay, so with this we finish discussing this lesson. Now let me go through your doubts. If you have any doubts, I'll clarify them now. Search for your channel, but I did not get it. You will get it now if you have the net connection. Log into, open the YouTube, Pratibha Unique, PRATHIBHAUNIQUE. That's my channel name. You just check once again.